When I was younger, my father told me the ancient stories of our people. We once sailed the stars in massive ships, visiting world after world, discovering creatures and places beyond our imagination. We were pilgrims, searching for a home. Eventually, we found our world and settled in the rolling green hills. The ships never sailed again, and we lived simple lives as farmers and tradesmen. Today I awoke aboard the Leofall to the hum of its thrusters. At sunbreak, our lords were to engage the hostile Xenos on the world below, to liberate primitive humans from their oppression, and bring them into the fold of humanity's greater alliances in the sector. I inspected my lord's armaments and appeased the machine spirits within, returning an affirmation of exceptional performance. As he donned his armor, I applied the sacred oils and hung his warding fetishes from his belt as the servitor droned in prayer behind me. I looked out the ship's windows as drop pods began to rain death down onto the planet. And as I stood amongst the very stars my ancestors looked up to, with the never-ending expanse of darkness surrounding us, I found myself in conflict as I contemplated the irony of my situation. For centuries, many of our greatest visionaries had looked to where I, a lowly squire, now currently stand, their eyes bright and imaginations wild with the endless possibilities of this wondrous universe. Today I look down from those very same heavens and wonder if any of my forefathers could truly grasp the nature of the horrors we have seen.
The story of the Tuatha de Danann starts in the cryostasis vaults underneath the surface of Mars. The end of Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade saw Reboot Guilliman activate his contingency plan, first set in motion 10,000 years ago. The Primaris Space Marines emerged from their slumber and were immediately formed into his Indomitus Crusade. While these Marines were destined to reinforce their parent chapters, they served as Greyshields until the time came for them to splinter off to their new brothers in arms. One of these Greyshields, a captain by the name of Nemid, was one such Greyshield. In the days before the Horus Heresy, Nemid had been one of the many avenging angels of the Imperial Fists, a veteran of many wars, later established as a formidable commander in the newly reorganized Black Templar chapter. While Nemid shared the ferocity of his brothers in battle, he was known for a rare talent many found missing in the Sons of Dorn: temperance. While many flew into battle with a wild vengeance, bolters roaring and chainswords flailing, Nemid felt at peace with his sword in his hand. Some would say his serenity was almost trance-like, always calm, calculating, watching the ebb and flow of battle around him. Nemid led his men on many successful campaigns on the fringe worlds Guilliman seek to reclaim. However, he and his Greyshields were fighting to suppress Chaos insurgents on a backwater planet when the tides turned. The Crusade's information had been inaccurate, and soon Nemid and his men were fighting desperately for their lives. When all seemed lost, the enemies that had surrounded them on all sides fell to a hail of bolter fire. As artillery roared through the air, an angel flew to Nemid's side. It was Saint Celestine, her retinue of battle sisters and Imperial guardsmen arriving at the last second to save the Greyshields. She turned to address the grateful men, not with reassurance, but purpose. She told the remnants of the army that the Emperor himself had chosen them to bring his light to the furthest reaches of space, the sequestered realm of Exilus, for humanity was in dire need of his guardian angels. Many Tuatha de Danann who were present that day were perplexed about this charge in retrospect. How was Celestine aware of a pocket of space known to no man? Why did Nemid nod as if he was already aware of this mission? Had the Emperor himself truly given this purpose directly to them? These were questions no battle brother would ever know the answers to. While his forces recuperated, Nemid and his officers spent many days in heated arguments with the other commanders. If Nemid and his battalion were to abandon the war front, many other forces would have to reorganize to accommodate the loss of his soldiers. With no compromise in sight, and many commanders reluctant to even sanction such a mission, the matter was brought forth to rebuke Guilliman himself, commander of the Indomitus Crusade. He heard of the task brought upon him by Celestine and the will of the Emperor, the reorganization of the war front, and decided that he could not allow this to pass. At the front of the crusade, Guilliman had no way to confirm the validity that the Emperor himself sanctioned such actions, and, playing to a cautious hand, warned Nemed that if he were to attempt to follow through with his plans, he would be charged with desertion and heresy against the Emperor and the Imperium. However, Nemed, always calm and level-headed, said but one thing before closing the communications channel. "I have but one master." Nemed returned to his men and told them of their new mission, their sacred duty given to him by the Emperor himself. Aware that his actions would brand them traitors, he allowed those who wished to stay and fight in the crusade to board shuttles and rejoin with the other Greyshields. Chapter memory serves to attest that not one shuttle departed from the ship that day. As Guilliman sent other ships to get a hold of the situation, it was too late. Nemed had sighted the warp storm he knew would take them to their ultimate fate, the hand of Exolus. And so the Greyshields flew into Exilus to carry out his will in the farthest corner of the galaxy. As Nemed's ship sailed through the vast storms of the hand, the warp howled and roared as if aware of the intrusion into its realm. The ship was battered and throttled by warp lightning the likes no mortal had ever imagined. Many rushed to brace for more destruction to be wrought on the vessel, but just as it seemed the cruiser was about to fall to the might of the hand, the storms had ceased. The Greyshields had successfully passed through the hands of Exilus and now floated in the deathly silence of the void. The journey had caused considerable damage to their ship, now floating along with minimal locomotion. The ship's navigator pointed to a nearby planet's atmosphere they could drift to. The ship lumbered sluggishly into low orbit, where they were met with rolling fields of green grass, towering peaks, and endless blue oceans. Detecting human life, they set their ship down near the largest population center in range, a town of stone and straw. For the natives of this planet, this would be the day remembered for generations, the day humanity's guardian angels descended from the heavens. As the hulking superhumans lumbered out of the ship, many locals came to meet them, some in awe, some armed with primitive iron tools. Nemed called for their leaders and told them of their purpose here in the sector, to protect humanity and spread the light of the Emperor. The Greyshields were met with open arms by a peaceful people who've never known war or of the stars above, the people of the world of Tara. Over the next few months, the two groups began to exchange cultures. The strong and resilient Taran people of the Emperor's light and the history of humanity in the Milky Way, and the Greyshields of a culture steeped in Druidism. Repairs on their ship came slowly, as the Greyshields integrated themselves into Taran society, becoming leaders and innovators, passing on knowledge that revolutionized the lives of the humble farmers and shepherds they had sworn to protect. Decades passed as Tara leapt into the early phases of industrialization, carefully balancing their new technologies with their druidic roots. The Greyshields had completed their ship repairs. Now fully integrated into Taran society, they had taken on a new name, the Tuatha de Danann, the children of their protector goddess, Danu. Now with their numbers bolstered from eager Taran recruits, their world fortified, and their flagship, the Leofal, now fully repaired, the Tuatha de Danann set out in the stars to reunite humanity as per the Emperor's will. Nemed patiently sailed through the stars in search of any trace of humanity. Many leads were unfruitful, but remote human settlements on various planets had been established. Things were looking hopeful for the Tuatha de Danann, that is, until they came to Mag Mell. The Tuatha de Danann journeyed through space with many of their attempts to find humanity unsuccessful. However, during their reconnaissance, one of their scouting companies returned with grave news, the evidence of a Necron tomb world on the dead world of Mag Mell. This news disturbed the entire chapter, but Nemid, seeing as the tomb world had shown no signs of activity, took this chance to strike a devastating blow to the still hibernating dynasty. The Tuatha de Danann landed their battalions on the surface of Mag Mell, a world of lifeless stone and raging tempests. Navigating into the depths of the planet, the Marines carefully made their way through the vast tombs of the Necron, seeking to detonate a payload of explosives deep within the heart of the crypt. However, the ever-watchful eyes of the tomb tracked their every movement, and just as they reached their destination, it was too late. The plan had failed. The hordes of Necron tomb guards stirring to life once again. The Marines fought valiantly to escape, but the Necron forces were simply too numerous. In the retreat, many battle brothers died to help their comrades escape, but many were lost. Even Nemid was taken from them, his life ended by the poison of a Necron assassin. The Tuatha de Danann sailed home in defeat, pondering if such a mission was worth the heavy price they paid. Nevertheless, the chapter needed a new leader to guide them in their mission. One exceptional captain, Nuada, was favored to be his successor, the greatest warrior of the Tauren people in mind, body, and spirit. Yet the loss of his arm in the Necron tomb raid made him ineligible to lead, for his body was now blemished. However, with the technology and the alchemical prowess of their greatest healer, Dian Kecht, Nuada was granted a silver arm, granting him the name of Argotlam, and with that, lordship over the Tuatha de Danann. With Nuada now sitting on the throne of the Leofal, the Tuatha de Danann now seek to continue their mission and, if fortune favors them, avenge the death of their greatest leader.